Business Takeout presents The Takeout Effect with Banki. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business.
Welcome to The Takeout Effect. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business. I'm your host, and my name is Banki. Today we have an amazing guest. But before we get to that, I just want to say that this show is brought to you by Business Takeout. Business Takeout is a nonprofit social enterprise. Our mission is to increase Black wealth and empower Black communities through entrepreneurship. Today's guest, I'm just going to pull it up here for you, what I've written down. But today's guest is a Canadian broadcast journalist and writer. She's also the host and producer of the talk show Coffee with Clover. Introducing Clover Sterling. Hi, Clover. How are you doing today?
Hi, Banki. I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you today. We have so much to uncover. We want to know more about who you are as a person, how your journey started, any tips for anyone else who wants to do their own show. And let's just hop into it. But before we do, let's get a message from our sponsor.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Okay.
So, Clover, how long have you been doing Coffee with Clover?
Wow. It's amazing you asked the question because this year, November, is actually going to be 10 years.
Amazing.
10 years since I've been doing Coffee with Clover, right. It started out on and off, and then it went smooth, and then it picks up along the way. You know, it had its time. So it's actually 10 years now since the inception, and I've actually been hosting real shows, talking to real people, and broadcasting live on the air. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. That's an amazing milestone to reach.
Thank you.
How did it start? How did you come into Coffee with Clover?
Well, my journey began. I was searching for my path, searching for a career path. And I tried a lot of things. I studied a lot of things, and it just was not my thing. But from a younger age, I had a knack for writing and expounding on a single topic. And I decided to go into radio broadcasting. And when I got to the orientation, they had included radio and journalism. So there and then they gave in detail what each course entails. So I figured, if I do journalism, I still will be covering radio, and the flexibility of finding jobs in different areas would work. So I decided to do journalism because I chose radio because I'm an introvert growing up. So I was thinking, okay, if I stay behind the scenes, no one will see me, and then I just project my voice. But then I decided to do journalism. And when I got into the course, I realized, wow, this was for me. It was hard, but I went through because you have to love reading, you have to love writing. And I found that I was mastering those skills. And that's how I got started. Yeah.
So pretty much what I got from what you just said is that you knew from very early on what you enjoyed doing, what really, a lot of people, they go to college for one thing and end up doing something completely different. And that's because they didn't really know what they enjoyed doing. So what I got from you, which I like, is that you started doing journalism because you realized you had a passion in writing. And you go through that path, and who knows what comes out of it. In your case, it's coffee with Clover, right? So
Yeah.
how I noticed that it said you did uncovering stories one time, one conversation at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of, okay, now you finish your education. Do you work for a network, or do you go and do your own show? What was the deciding factor for you?
The deciding factor prior to completing the course?
Oh no, choosing
Present.
whether to work for someone or do your own show.
Oh no, I did it to work to be with a network. Actually, while I was studying, I decided, okay, then I would love to be a newscaster.
Oh,
And so, um, planning ahead, okay, where you I would apply if I go across the border or if I stay in Canada. But I would just love to be a newscaster, because to be a newscaster, it takes several steps to get there, first of all. But you write your own news stories. Likewise, for the other reporters you'll be reading, there's also. And it was a very interesting role. So I thought, yeah, I would love to be a newscaster. But after graduating school, I found that I wasn't getting the job that I wanted. So I was willing to do anything. So I started writing. I wrote for several magazines, and I I was still thinking of going into radio. Should I not get into TV? And
mm-hmm.
somehow I had a friend who did the radio broadcasting. And after I graduated, I like nothing was happening for me. But she called me to assist her. She was okay. It was actually the reverse. She did radio broadcasting, but she actually started doing a TV show. And
Oh,
she was alone doing the show, coordinating and everything. So she asked me to help, knowing that I just finished the course, so my skills are fresh. And so I started helping her. But in helping her, I'm still thinking, oh, I'm just going to go into radio, or I be a newscaster. And while I was assisting her each time I go on set, the thought came to me, why don't I, because I started brainstorming. If you should go for an interview, they're going to ask, what can you bring to the table? Or if you should have a show, what would you call it? And I was asking myself all those questions and providing the answer at the same time. So I started brainstorming tea with Clover, because I'm thinking I would rather to be an evening show.
mm-hmm.
And when I wrote this down, and then I put coffee with Clover. Tea with Clover didn't sound good, and then I put coffee with Clover, and then sounds a little better. And then I said to my friend Deidre, her name is Deidre. I said, Deidre, what do you think? Even if I do radio or if I do TV, I would like a show. The show would be called Coffee with Clover. And I like that idea. And by
Nice.
telling folks each one, I tell people they were just liking the idea of the sound of it, Coffee with Clover. As to what I would talk about, I didn't know. All I know, at first I have a name for a show. And so I started putting pen to paper, and I wrote down all my ideas. And I decided that it would be a lifestyle. And so I pitched my idea to Rogers TV Mississauga. And first thing they liked was the name, the sound of the show. And they're like, what would you talk about? So I didn't want to give away too much, because I'm like, what if they do not accept me? And then they go use my idea. So I gave them just a little, and then they sent me an email. I said, tell us a little more. But by this, it was like a deciding factor. And I gave them a
Mm-hmm.
little more, and then they accepted me to um, to start my show on Rogers TV. And that's where Coffee with Clover was born. Well, that's where it was
Nice.
born on air. Before I got there, I was actually doing little shows in coffee shops, because I wanted to create a CD with all the shows that I did, so that I could present it
Yeah.
somewhere to be accepted. And Rogers accepted me, and here I am. Yeah.
Which it leads me to ask a question. How do you protect yourself? I'm hearing a noise. I'm not sure where it's coming from.
So like statics.
Yeah, but you know what? We'll work with it because you know how technology is. Um, so my question would be, how does one protect themselves when they pitch an idea to a TV company like Rogers? You mentioned that um, you told them about Coffee with Clover, but you didn't want to give them details because you didn't want them to take your ideas. That was 10 years ago. Knowing what you know now and knowing the growth from your experience and stuff along your journey, how do you now protect yourself? You protect your ideas when it comes to pitching it to a TV network.
Yeah, well, the good thing is to have an entertainment lawyer, and you write things down, and you can have a lawyer to have your back should someone wants to steal your idea. But at this point, what I do, no one can take it from me, because um, Coffee with Clover, I use my name. Coffee doesn't belong to anyone anyway, so I'm not using someone else's name. And the
Yeah.
idea that I bring to the show, and it's only when it's aired that you know what I was actually planning. Because it's like for a TV show, when I'm at work, that's when you see me at work, yeah, on air. So no one can actually take this away from me, because should they take the concept, someone else would have to be the host of that show. But I could have still gone on and do what I do. Yeah. But having a lawyer, entertainment lawyer, is the best way to protect your ideas.
And that's good to know. Um, so in terms of like what's going on in the world today, you see like Wendy Williams is not no longer doing her show and someone else is doing her show for her. Then you see like Angelique from the Breakfast Club, who is leaving the Breakfast Club after 12 years and is now doing her own show. And it's also her show is on radio. Wendy Williams is going into podcasting. Do you think radio is dead when it comes to getting into the ears of listeners?
No, radio is never dead, because what I've noticed too, even during a storm, even during a power outage, radio is always there. If you do not have electricity, you get batteries, and you can still tune in to radio when television goes. So radio is never dead, and your shows can always come alive on that medium. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any business tips that for anyone who wants to do their own show? Right now, a lot of people are doing it where they're having their own show on whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram Live, or even Facebook, like what we're doing right now. Any tips for anyone who really wants to get in the motion of starting their own show?
Oh, sure. But the last time I was in studio was just as the pandemic hit, and Coffee with Clover was really taking off, because my intent was to start going to different provinces, especially for this year, the 10th year. I was hoping to start doing a tour. So I've been thinking, and I've been improvising, and starting this fall, I intend to do more IG live. I would love to put my content more on YouTube. No, for all the shows that I've did more than 100 shows. I stopped counting. Not all of those shows are on YouTube, but there are a few shows there, and I
Yeah.
intend to start putting fresh content, so that I am posting every week, if not every day, at least every week. So I hope to start engaging more. I know it's summer, so everyone's outdoors. So when winter comes, most people are in, so people have time to watch. And then, of course, I'll be promoting it. Yeah, so my intention is to start speaking to more people, and more engagement on Instagram, and posting to YouTube, um, just to keep the ideas fresh until I can get back on the air. Yeah.
Great. And in terms of opportunities, what opportunities have you gained along your journey?
What opportunities? Go again?
Have you gained? So, what opportunities did you get from being an entrepreneur?
Okay. Well, the opportunities. I'm the executive producer. When I started out, I thought I had to depend on a producer from a media outlet to produce for me, and I
Mhm.
realized that I can do my production myself. I make my contacts myself. Once you speak to people and they know that they're getting on TV, everyone is always willing to speak to you. So as a journalist, you gain access. You gain
Yeah.
access to certain areas and certain information. And so that makes it even easier because I have the title to go with what I do. So yeah, so reaching people to speak with is not very hard. Sometimes there are some what you call it, road blockers, that you cannot pass the secretary to get to the CEO to ask him
Yeah.
to be on the show. There's those roadblocks. But when I project myself as who I am, genuinely, I find that it becomes easier. And so I'm going all the way. I would love to, as I said before, I would love to get to speak to the Queen or even to the Prime Minister. And being on a platform such as this, I'm gonna keep pushing and elevate
Yeah.
myself. So the opportunities are endless. I just need to dive in and take advantage of them.
Okay. And I remember before, early on in our conversation, you did mention that you after you finished your education, you had problems finding a job as a broadcaster. Do you think diversity and inclusion played a role in that?
Sorry,
Can
you're
you hear
breaking
me?
up. If
I don't
something
know.
played a role.
Yeah, sorry, it's the technology. I'm just trying to. I don't know why there's that sound.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, we'll try again. Okay. Um. Earlier on. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I'm hearing.
Okay, good. When you finished your education, right, as a broadcaster, and you were looking for jobs, right? And you weren't having much luck at that. Did you think it played a role with diversity and inclusion? Like, was it because there wasn't many Black people doing that role at that time?
Mhm. Um, that was a part. I think that was a part of it too. But you would have to. How it goes. You start from being a reporter, a field reporter, going out in the field
Okay.
and doing reporting, and then when opportunity rise, you can step up. But I remember my professor always say to us, if a posting is up and you think you're qualified, even though there may be certain steps to get there, still apply,
Yes,
because
definitely.
as long as you're confident, you can get the role. And I was still applying because what I was using is me being having the exposure of television, being on air. I was applying for those roles, and I was applying like and outside of the province, anywhere I get it, I would go. I started off until I got so much into what I'm doing to try to focus on and building my show that I had stopped. But if the opportunity comes up now, I would go for it. I just want to
Okay.
accomplish that, just that little one, what I'm doing.
Yes. And what would you say your toughest challenges have been overall on your whole journey?
Okay, one of the challenges is just consistent sponsorship. If I have that, because sometimes I go on and when sponsorship runs out, God bless the ones that who help to sponsor the show to air. Thank them so much. That was just one of the stumbling blocks, that sponsorship was not consistent because folks would think it costs a lot to be on TV. It costs a lot financially. You have to, if you're not producing for the network, you have to pay for airtime. And
Yes.
so that comes by advertisement. If persons who have businesses would like to run an ad so that when it's through to break, you are promoting their brand. And that was one of the challenges. Um, and things are going well until COVID stopped. I hate to say that word, stopped it. But I'm hopeful and I'm still pushing forward to be back out.
How
Yeah.
did COVID how did COVID impact your business? Like in terms
Okay.
of your show, how did COVID impact it?
It impacted in a way where I was on air consistently and I had to stop. However, I thought of a plan B. So during the pandemic, I was thinking no one could leave their house, no one could go to dinner, you couldn't go to the neighbors. you have to stay home because it's not safe. So because I love to cook, and I did do a course in what was it, cooking thing. So I love to cook. I love to entertain at home. So I decided
Yes.
that I'm going to create 12 months, 12 dinner parties. So the idea was to show families that, okay, you cannot go out. Here's what you can do at home. Still be happy regardless of what's going on outside. So I started cooking at home in real time, and then I edit it. I cook a full course meal, and I go through steps and say what I'm doing. Should someone watching would like to make the same dish, and then I proceed to serving it up on a well-dressed table, ready
Amazing.
to, yeah.
It
So
sounds
that was
like
what I did
you.
during COVID. I did for 12 months, and
Okay.
I did it like fresh every time. Like for say for January, I would tape for 4 months, so I keep posting, and by March I would tape more. So yeah, so that is
I
what I
did
did.
see some. I did see some cooking videos on your YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I did to keep the brand alive, giving people ideas.
So
Yeah.
you switched from coffee with Clover to cooking with Clover.
Well, sort of. It was still coffee with Clover, 12 months, 12 dinner parties, because for everything you have your coffee, right? So
Yes,
during those segments,
definitely.
I would make sure I perched my cup somewhere in the view of the camera to remind folks, oh, it's coffee with Clover, but this time we're cooking. Yeah. And there are folks who liked it. There are folks who reached out to me and said, I had that exact same idea. They could have executed it, yeah, but I went all out, and it was so in me, and I did it. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm hungry right now. We're about to go into a game. The game is called Business Confessions. And basically, how it works is that I'll give you like a business scenario question, and you would tell me, your response. And after you respond, I will guess if it's a lie or a confession. Are you ready to play?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
All right, let's go. Okay, tell me about a time when you went above and beyond for a client.
Okay, above and beyond for a client. I did an interview with she was a model. I did an interview with her, and I asked her a few questions, and I thought the answer was fine, but after she left the studio, she told me she wasn't comfortable with the answer that she gave me, and if I could please do not air the show. Well, it had already
Mhm.
gone on to the network, and it got aired. Yeah, it got aired. But the only thing I could do for her was not to post it on YouTube, because once I post it to YouTube, it will be there. Because she thought her answer was not good enough, and then folks watching it would criticize her. And I did grant her that favor, because um, with the way bullying and everything is going on, even online, I didn't want that to
Yeah.
go against her and with her career. So, yeah, I did her a favor by not posting the video, even though I would love to
Okay.
put the rest, but I just didn't post it. Yeah.
How long ago was that? Like, was it like about like in the very beginning stages?
20, that was in 2020. That was one of the shows I did prior to COVID. Right. That was in
Okay.
20, yeah, March of 2020. Yeah. Right.
And I know that some places have like a release form allowing them to release the videos before
She did,
while
yeah.
it's aired.
Yeah, all my guests did sign a release form, but what I thought
Mm-hmm.
of is the long term. If she
Yes.
wasn't comfortable, and if I was in her position, how would I feel?
Yes.
And so I grant her, yeah. But it aired at that time. You would have had to subscribe to Rogers and Bell in order to watch the show. So the show aired, and the show repeated the next day, and then I normally post to YouTube after, so that whoever did not see the shows would get a chance to, and so I didn't post it.
Okay. And you know what? And I think that's honorable of you to do, because you took into consideration the way she felt, and you put yourself in her shoes, and you made a decision for the longevity of your relationship with her, in opposed to what the network wanted, or what was needed at the time, which is great. I'm going to ask you one last question, and we're going to end the show. But I know I also want to ask you, because I know that there's a lot of noise on our interview right now. If you would be open to having another interview, we'll finish this one. But I want to know if you'll be also open to having another interview at a later time, so that way we can do it better, because the noise that is happening is probably hard for everyone else to listen
Sure,
to.
no problem. Anytime, I'm ready to speak. Yeah, of course.
And also, to the final question, what does the future look like for Coffee with Clover?
Oh, Coffee with Clover is not stopping. It's a part of me, because
You said it was such confidence. It is not stopping. Yes.
It's not stopping. I've gone so far as to produce. I just published my magazine, the Clover magazine, which is an extension of the TV show. And the magazine came about because ever since I started the show, on air, time is limited, and it goes by strict timing. So for every time a guest gets up from my chair, he or she would say, I have so much more to talk about. I wish I had more time. I wish I'd said this before the show ended. And I always leave the studio thinking, how could I continue the conversation? If I get them back on another show, it's like I'm not moving on. I'm still talking about the same topic. And then that's when the magazine came into play, because I did do a magazine, didn't like it, and I decided that, okay, no, I'm going to have to implement one. And so I sat with my editor, and we thought, what would we call it? And by deliberating different names, I said, why don't you just say Clover? Just call it the Clover magazine. But of course, it's an extension of the TV show. And that's all. So I published that April of 2022. Yeah.
I love it. Looking forward to seeing next issue, definitely.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask you that question about your magazine, and it completely slipped my mind. So I'm glad that you brought it up also. This noise! Oh my god!
I know it's noise. When you speak. I don't know if you're hearing it. I speak, but it's when you speak, it's cracking up.
Yeah, so it's vice versa. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm in out of the country, so I'm not sure if that has a lot to do with it. But we're gonna end the show right now, because we reached the final question. For everyone who is watching, if you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Clover, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, and we will do this again. I'll have to reschedule you. We'll do it again, and it will be better. But it has been a pleasure speaking with you. I've learned a lot from our conversation today, and tune in next week. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
No problem. If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.